Hi dear friends, and welcome to my new video. Still with how not to tell, and today we'll not tell about grammar. Actually, many novice or new teachers think that teaching grammar means talking a lot, because as they believe that they need to tell about the form, the meaning, the function of the structure, and do pronunciation work, and they usually wonder how they can do all these things without telling or without talking much. If you have the same question, so this video is for you. Now, we will apply or we will adopt an approach to teaching grammar without telling, which is called text-based approach. Before I start getting into details or talking in details about the text-based approach, I'd like you please for 1 minute to pause the video, think about the last time you taught grammar, what was the lesson and what were the procedures of your lessons. Pause, think and replay. Okay, so now I will show you the steps or the procedures of the text-based approach, or how to teach you adopting this approach. These procedures are in order, in the same order we do in class, and I want you again to pause and compare between your own teaching or the procedures that you do in your class and these procedures. How similar, how different are you from these procedures? So please pause, compare and replay. Okay, now how similar are you? How different? You can decide. Now we will read the procedures again, and we will have the names of the stages. You know that when you write a professional lesson plan, you need to write the name of the stage and the procedures, and also the aim. So now we will have the procedures and the names. We have only 6 names of stages or 6 stages, and we have about 10 procedures. So please, we want to match, so we can have one name or one stage for 2 procedures or more. It's not an issue. So okay, please pause, match and replay. But before we need to have an example. For example, the first one or the first procedure is to ask students to work in pairs or tell each other about the period of time or the length of time they studied English. So what do you call this? Yes, so this is lead-in, because this is relevant to the topic of the lesson, which is the present perfect tense. Okay, so now please do the same. So 1E. Do the same for the rest of procedures and then replay. Okay, so now we have to check our answers. So I will show you an answer key. Please compare your answers against this answer key. Okay, how many did you get right? Great. So these are the steps or the procedures, and these are the names. What about the aims? Why do we do these procedures in this order? Now I will show you the aims without the procedures, and now try to think or to recall what we did in order to achieve these aims. Just memory test. Look, so for example, number 1, to create a need for the structure, or to create interest in the structure. So what do we call this, or what did we do? Yes, we ask students to work in pairs, which is the lead-in activity. Number 2, yes, to help students understand the context which contain the target language. What did we do? Yes, we asked students, so we ask students to read for main ideas, to read the context or the text for the main ideas, as to match the paragraphs with pictures or with titles, or to choose a title for the text. Why? Because students, in order to understand the target language or the meaning of the target language, students need to understand the context which contains the target language. Okay, so the next step was, yes, eliciting the meaning. This is the presentation stage, and this is one of the most important stages in your lesson. So here we talk about telling or not telling. So in this presentation stage, we have 2 different ways of doing so. So for example, there are two ways, and both ways are used without telling. So the first one is more teacher-centered, which is elicitation. So the teacher asks some leading questions which lead or guide students to get the meaning or to understand the meaning of the target language, and also to get the form of it through some question. And here, for example, the teachers can say, okay, why did the writer think he's fit for the job? Yeah, students answer, because he has worked as an engineer for 7 years. Okay, did he start working in the past, present, or future? They say past. Okay, so does he still, or is he still working as an engineer? Yes. Okay, will he continue in the future? Just a minute, Jana. Will he continue to the future? Maybe. So this means that you elicit the meaning of the structure. This is the meaning of the present form, one of the meanings of the present form here, or the present perfect tense here. So this is a teacher-centered way, because the teacher asks and students answer. The teacher asks again and students answer. Another way of doing this is using guided discovery. So last time we talked about the kind of Socratic questions that we used now in elicitation, but when we have a number of Socratic questions, we call this guided discovery. Now I will show you the guided discovery task to see how this can be done without much teacher intervention, or in a learner-centered way. So now we start with 3 sentences, or the target sentences that the target language, and it's important for the target language or the 3 sentences to be a representative of the structure. I mean that one sentence include has and one includes have, for the students to notice the difference, and one to have a regular verb and another one to have irregular verb, for students also to notice the difference. So students gap fill or fill in the gaps. Then you start or you have some questions written on a worksheet, and students do or answer the questions individually or in pairs or in small groups. While doing so, the teacher is not passive; he's monitoring, and he's attentive to students or listening actively to students' questions. He tries to notice where students have problems or have difficulty, and now his role is to provide support, not by answering questions or doing the task for the students, but leading them to the answers. So this is the guided discovery. So here, the presentation stage, which the teacher always talk a lot, while this stage, no, we don't do this. Either you elicit from the students, you ask and students answer until they understand the meaning and form, or you can do what? Or you can do it in a learner-centered way through a guided discovery. Students answer themselves, and you monitor and offer help. After that, we come to the controlled practice. We have different types of controlled practice here. So for example, to drive students' attention or to help students focus on the form, we ask them to underline all the examples or other examples of the structures in the writing or in the reading or in the text that they have read. Then we start controlled practice. The first controlled practice should focus on, or is advisable to focus on, the form. So correcting mistakes makes the students or helps the students to focus on the form of the structure. After that, we come to personalizing. So in order to personalize the target language or to personalize the structure and focus on the meaning. So the next one, which we asked students to write 5 sentences using the structures about themselves, through sentences. This is a meaningful practice which focuses on the meaning and also creates interest because it is personalized. The next step, of course, was the free practice. Students do a role play activity, or they write something. You ask them to write a cover letter or to write whatever, something that they need, or in which they need the present perfect tense. After that, the last stage of the lesson is error correction or delayed feedback. While students are doing or are speaking or doing the role play or the writing, you don't interrupt them, because this activity aims for fluency, not accuracy. So do not interrupt students' communication, but delay the feedback after they finish. Now you can start board work. You write some of the students' sentences on the board and ask what's your opinion about this sentence? Is this a correct sentence or not? How can we make it a better one, or how make it more accurate? So this is delayed feedback. So these are the steps, or the stages, or the procedures of the text-based approach in which you can teach grammar without telling or without talking much. As for the presentation stage, you can choose from Elicitation, teacher-centered, or from the guided discovery. Hope this is useful, and I will meet you next time or next week with another example of how not to tell. Thank you so much for watching, and meet you next week.
Bye bye.